there was a chick, right, and she had a picture. She's a working girl. She had a picture of her daughter on the back of her phone, and I asked her who it was, and she's like, "Oh, that's my daughter. I'm just doing this to be able to provide for my daughter because I'm a single mother." And I'm thinking, okay, she's out here in a high risk business doing all this shit. She's doing all this shit. And you got single mothers right here in the United States talking about they got it hard, talking about what they can and cannot do. Yet they actually just sitting on their ass not doing a goddamn thing.
With 8th grade girls, and I asked them to tell me what their goals were. This one particular young lady said that she wanted to have 2 kids. So I said, "So are you going to have a husband?" And she said, "Nope." And I said, "Please tell me why you would choose in the 8th grade to have a goal of having 2 kids and not be married." She said, "Because if I'm married to him, I can't collect child support."
Jesus.
And then she said, "Why should I marry a man that I have kids by? He might have issues or something. He might be on drugs." And I said, "Well, if he's too bad to be your husband, do you really think he's going to make a better father?"
Jesus.
Good dive back again. Once again, let's lock in. Each of the clips today that are presented before this video tell a story, right? Each of them tell a profound story that gives a connection to today's topic, okay? So the first video was my man Austin Holloman, fellow passport brethren, talking about how he came across a single mother in, I think he said it was in Colombia at that time, and she was basically putting herself in a high-risk business, a working girl, and she was doing it to provide and support for her family, right? And he was also connecting it to single mothers here in the United States, where they talk about the struggles they have, but yet and still they'll never struggle more than women in these foreign countries will, right? And he was also talking about how it kind of comes out to them just being lazy and shit like that. Then the next clip was from a doctor, I believe, that did a study on 8th grade girls that said specifically that they would want to be single mothers with 2 kids because how are they going to get money from the father if they're together with the father? How are they going to be able to get child support? So they were basically having a thought process of having kids just to get money from the father. And it brings me to where I am right now. The system here in the United States seems to reward single motherhood, in my opinion. The way that I'm looking at it right now, there are far more benefits to get as a single mother in the United States than any other country in the world. It's almost as if you're rewarded for being a single mom. I want to know the truth. Do single dads get the same benefits as a single mom? I really want to know that. Maybe you guys know. I don't have kids, but from what I'm looking out, from the outside looking in, it does seem like you are rewarded for being a single mother. So it was no wonder that these young ladies in this particular video, who are probably grown up in an environment where they come from a single parent and maybe they are instilling this type of ideology in their mind as young ladies that you don't need a man, the government will take care of you, and you just have these kids and you'll just get child support. So to use your kid as a money ploy as opposed to being an actual parent doesn't surprise me at all. It doesn't, and I don't think that it should surprise you too. But let's be real, and let's make sure that we are able to separate the difference between the two. I know exactly where my brother Austin Holloman is coming from when it comes from single mothers, because I lived in the Philippines, and I know how hard it is to be a single mother in the Philippines, right? Usually, and I'm saying this loosely, all right? I want to make sure that I preface this, because it's not all situations, but usually when a Filipina is a single mother and it doesn't involve a foreigner, usually they're a single mother because the father died or, something to that effect. Usually they get married, separation, or whatever it may be. That's the way it normally happens. So the father is around, or they might be separated or whatever the case may be. Dad just ain't in the picture for some reason or another, right? Single mothers in the United States, to an extent. Sometimes the father wants to be in the picture. Sometimes the father doesn't want to be in the picture. Sometimes the mother chooses to use that kid as a pawn to try to keep the father or to always have a connection with the father. But because the father may not want to deal with that young lady anymore, they're going to use that kid against the father every single time to either get money from him or to manipulate him to do things in order to spend time with their kids, right? I've never really seen that tactic played in a place like the U.S. I mean, in a place like the Philippines and places like that. Usually that's a U.S. tactic. If it does happen, it's few and far between in these foreign countries than it more than likely is in the United States. And that's because when it comes down to the court system, and it comes down to the rules, like I said before, ladies and gentlemen, you're rewarded for being a single mother in the United States. But over there, you're not quite rewarded, right? If you're going to try to flex and finagle a foreigner out of stuff, a foreigner's not obligated to an extent. If you want to know the truth, you can tell me that there's laws that will try to get a foreigner to pay for a child in the Philippines, but usually there's not. Because first you got to find them. Then you got to be able to locate him, find an address for him, find a way to get to him. And if he's just in the country, out the country type of guy, you're not going to get him if you're trying to finesse him and use, a man for his seed in these foreign countries, as opposed to here in the United States. We already know the system is geared towards the women. That's just it. Women get all the benefits, women get all the rights. When it comes from a patriarchal society, that being somewhere in the Middle East and, some countries in Southeast Asia, usually men have more rights than the women do, right? Now, don't get me wrong. They will not separate a child from the mother in the Philippines. You can quote me on this one because I know it to be fact. For at least the first 7 to 11 years, I believe, they will not separate the child from the mother in any capacity, regardless of what's going on. That's just something you got to deal with if you do find yourself in those situations. But back to the topic at hand, ladies and gentlemen, you're rewarded for being a single mother. And that's why you see far more people doing that, or far more young ladies being involved in those situations in the U.S. more often than not. Sometimes it's the guy's fault. Sometimes it's the woman's fault. It is what it is. But I would never want any woman to talk about single motherhood in the United States and act like they got it harder than anybody else in these foreign third world countries, because there's no way. There is no real government aid and assistance for being a single mother in these foreign countries, these third world countries. It just don't work like that over there. So they are the ones that are out there having to sell their bodies to make money for their kids. And that's no bullshit. That's the truth, and the truth shall set us all free. Y'all let me know in the comment section below what you guys think. Interested to hear the comments, questions, and concerns. This has been a good doc, man. Y'all take care. Y'all stay blessed, man. Doc is out. Peace.
With 8th grade girls, and I asked them to tell me what their goals were. This one particular young lady said that she wanted to have 2 kids. So I said, so are you going to have a husband? And she said, nope. And I said, please tell me why you would choose in the 8th grade to have a goal of having 2 kids and not be married. She said, because if I'm married to him, I can't collect child support.